Hello everybody, this is Hector again with another movie review. This time I will be talking about the film Silent Hill Revelation. This movie came out a few months ago, back in October 2012, but I still hadn't done a review, so here it is. This movie didn't do very well at the box office, I'm sorry to say, and to this day I'm baffled as to why. I have some good guesses, but that's about it. I have checked reviews of this movie on film websites like Rotten Tomatoes, and most critics didn't like it. They said the story made no sense, they didn't like the special effects, they didn't like the performances, etc. Now, in my opinion at least, they were being way too harsh on this movie, and it just didn't deserve it. Yeah, the movie had its problems, the movie had flaws, but it was enjoyable nonetheless, and it was by no means trash, which critics seem to imply that it was, at least most of them. Now, this is actually a sequel to the movie Silent Hill, which came out in 2006. I saw that movie also, and it's actually one of my all-time favorite movies. I may actually go back to it later and review it, but I will focus on the sequel first. Yeah, Silent Hill Revelation is in fact a sequel, but it is mostly based on the video game Silent Hill 3 for the PlayStation 2. Silent Hill 3 is one of the best suspense horror video games ever made, and I first played it back in 2005. If you have never played it yourself, I seriously think you are missing out, because it offers some of the best gameplay around. The soundtrack is amazing, as well as the sound effects, story, and characters. I would even go as far as to say that it's even scarier than a lot of so-called horror movies from nowadays. I can't really explain how good it is right now because it would take me all day, but the story alone is better than most movies, which in the end, well, is kind of a blessing and a curse because the bar was set very high by the video game, and a movie like Silent Hill Revelation has a difficult road to travel if it wants to please audiences. As far as the story of Silent Hill Revelation, I will try to sum it up as best I can. Like I mentioned before, some critics said the story made little or no sense, but I disagree with that. The movie is about a 17-year-old girl called Heather Mason, played by Adelaide Clemens, who lives with her father Harry Mason, played by Sean Bean. The main villain in this movie is Claudia Wolf, played by Carrie-Anne Moss. You might remember her from the Matrix movies. Heather is having a nightmare at the start of the film. She sees a haunted amusement park filled with monsters, fire, and scary images. She wakes up from her nightmare, and after talking to her father for a little bit, we understand that both of them are on the run, constantly changing their names and also changing schools for Heather. On that particular morning, Heather is in fact getting ready for her first day of school. On a personal note, forget about Silent Hill. If I had to get ready for my first day of school, I would also be having nightmares. Needless to say, I hated school, but anyway, that's a whole other video. Heather is dropped off at the local high school, and after she enters the classroom, the teacher tells her to stand up and introduce herself to the rest of the class. This is one of the best scenes in the whole movie. I won't spoil it for you, but Heather handles it perfectly, and also surprises us, the audience, because her speech is very honest and tough. She basically tells everybody off before they start making fun of her. It's very clever, you have to see it. Later in the movie, Heather starts having scary visions, just like her nightmare, and she is confused as to why that is happening. She is later followed by a detective who was apparently paid to find her, and after she gets away from him, she discovers that her father was kidnapped and taken to Silent Hill. Now, as far as Silent Hill itself, as a location, it's a little hard to explain. I wouldn't necessarily say it's a haunted town, but that's probably the best analogy. It's a small town full of abandoned buildings and houses. There are scary people lurking around, and others actually appear to be trapped there. The town was apparently ravaged by fire some time ago, and some of that fire is still burning underground, and there are ashes all over the place, over the roads, cars, buildings, etc. The whole town is also permanently covered in white smoke, and ashes continue to fall. It is an incredible sight, and also the perfect setting for a horror movie. Silent Hill also appears to be in a separate dimension or reality altogether, given that not everybody can arrive there at will, while others are stuck there by mistake. Anyway, Heather goes there and tries to find her father. That's pretty much it. Going into further details would only be confusing. I will go ahead and say right away that I loved this movie and I was very happy to see it. Like I said before, critics were way too tough on it. As far as the story, I think they did a good job with the movie. The Silent Hill video game franchise is so vast and full of interesting characters and storylines, making a movie must not have been an easy job. As far as I know, there have been at least 5 Silent Hill video games made. As far as myself, I have only played Silent Hill 3, but I'm familiar with the stories for the other games. I can't go into details, but I know what the general stories are. I was surprised how much hate this movie got when it was released. Yeah, I kind of expect critics to dislike a movie like this, which is a movie based on a video game, but even fans of Silent Hill didn't seem to like it very much. I don't understand why, because it's a very good movie. It has suspense, scary moments, likable characters, and very good lines of dialogue. I mentioned before how I had some guesses as to why this movie didn't do well, and here are 2 of them. First, the movie came out too late. What I mean by that is, Silent Hill 3, the video game, came out in 2003. This movie came out in 2012, and the DVD and Blu-ray came out in 2013. That's practically 10 years after the original material that inspired it. Audiences have very short memories, at least when it comes to popular culture, and even fans of Silent Hill must have found it difficult to care about this movie. Second, a lot was changed from the video game. That was expected, of course. We've all seen it before with popular books and popular video games, but fans still didn't like it. I think that's what annoyed people the most. That's pretty much it. Those are my 2 best guesses, or at least the ones I have time to discuss on this review. As far as myself, I didn't mind that it came out almost 10 years after the video game. I also didn't mind the changes. It was a pleasure watching this movie and seeing Silent Hill and so many characters from the video game come to life. The actress who played Heather Mason was amazing and she did a wonderful job. She was the perfect Heather in my opinion. I had a lot of fun noticing little details here and there that reminded me of the video game, especially the amusement park, the pink bunnies, Pyramid Head, and Heather using weapons like a gun and a steel pipe. I love the look of the film overall, and it's really hard for me to find anything to complain about. I don't understand why movies like this don't do better business. They are clearly good movies. I really can't remember how many times I've gone to see a very popular movie, only to end up disappointed and hating it because it was terrible. Just to give an example, I hated The Hunger Games. That movie annoyed me from beginning to end. I can't explain why right now because it would take me forever, but that's a good example. I guess it has to do with marketing. If Silent Hill Revelation had been promoted as much as Hunger Games, I'm sure it would have done a lot better. Anyway, this brings me to the end of the review. I recommend this movie to fans of the video games. It's strange that so many fans didn't like it, but it really doesn't deserve the hate. It already came out on DVD and Blu-ray, so go buy it or rent it. If you play the video game like myself, you will at least enjoy it for nostalgia reasons. Seeing Heather walk around empty hallways, wondering what's around every corner, or picking up a gun and fighting monsters. On a side note here, let me say that this movie reminded me of Beautiful Creatures, which I reviewed on a previous video. Strangely enough, there's a lot of similarities. You could almost say this is Beautiful Creatures for horror fans. Yeah, it's a weird comparison, but whatever. I'm a weird guy, I guess. So anyway, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the best, I give this movie an 8. Thanks for listening. Until next time. Bye.